Now, for more on this, Professor of History at California State University, David Yagoubian, joins us now. Thanks so much for speaking to us, David. Now, this is a plan that doesn't include the core political issues in the Israeli-Palestinian dispute, and it's been rejected by Palestinians. So what hope is there for this economic part of Kushner's deal, and even the political part?
I would like to be optimistic, but unfortunately, I believe that this is just completely a non-starter for the reasons that you just mentioned. It basically puts the cart before the horse. And so the critical political issues that arguably brought an end to the Oslo peace process, or, the decade or so in which the Oslo peace process was still being pursued, the final status of borders, the issue of Palestinian refugees, the issue of the nearing 500,000 illegal Israeli settlers living in the West Bank, the nature of the sovereignty over sacred religious sites. These are all issues that are arguably the critical ones. These are what are referred to as the final status issues, ones that were put to the back burner during Oslo, and that again arguably brought about the end to the era of the Oslo peace process. And so by putting economic concepts and basically dangling $50 billion, and it's of note that 25 billion of that low interest loans, whether or not it was $50 billion in cash, it just wouldn't matter. The Palestinian people are simply not going to sell out their homeland to the Trump administration and the Jared Kushner wing of the White House. They are truly seeking their sovereignty and control over their homeland through international law and through existing United Nations resolutions such as UN 242 and 338.
And on that, going a bit further, there are reports that at the Bahrain conference, Jared Kushner, he vocally scrapped American support for the two-state solution. And of course, that's been the basis for negotiations between the Israelis and Palestinians for decades. So, where does it go from here?
It's an excellent question, because again, just for those that really know the Oslo process in depth, by 2001 at Taba, there was a arguably fruitful conference in which the final status issues were discussed, and as well issues of border swaps that would, for example, account for some of the larger settlement blocks in exchange for some territory that was contiguous with the West Bank. This was some very advanced thinking and progressive thinking in regards to how to deal with these final status issues. I see nothing coming out of the Manama conference or this workshop that is creative in this regard. And so certainly by stressing that this only deals with economic issues, Jared Kushner and Greenblatt and Friedman are essentially guaranteeing that this is a non-starter. And so this essentially seems to be a show for the Gulf Arabs, who would likely foot the bill, and the Israelis, who are of course supportive of it, and the neoconservatives in the United States. But the central audience, which would be the Palestinian people, has already been completely alienated by way of this economic plan, this so-called Marshall Plan, if you will, to try to pay them off and buy them out. This is just not going to work.
And so what happens after the Bahrain conference? Does Jared Kushner come up with another plan, or does he keep insisting on this one because it's been a long time in the making, he says?
Another good question. If we look at the foreign policy initiatives of the Trump administration, there are so many loose ends and so much unfinished business, if you will. So what's happening in North Korea? What's happening in Venezuela? What's happening in Iran with the JCPOA? I believe that this will simply just be left on the back burner again and be one more incomplete or failed foreign policy initiative by the Trump administration to add to the long list of already failed foreign policy agendas and attempts to further shape the global playing field in the interests of the United States and American global hegemony.
All right, Professor David Yagoubian, it's been excellent to get your insight. Thanks for speaking to us on TRT World.